Good evening and welcome. Good morning almost to Geshe in the US and Ilosang in Israel, I think, still. Yes, and the world obviously quite observing what is going on all around the world. So let's make the most of it and make sure that we can all generate great bodhicitta today. And before we get started, as this is the third and final event, I would, for auspiciousness, like to offer our mandala to Geshe before we get into the regular prayers, and then Geshe can take over on the verses. So, oops. Spotlighting me and Geshe. Dashi perki juk sheng meto tramri rablingji nihidek yan pari Sangye shindu mekte uvaigi ruku nam dashing la chapak shok idam guru ratna mandala kamya chayami. Maybe Geshe would like to introduce before I share the prayers, or just do the prayers.
I think we can do a very short motivation. So we can try to think how fortunate and lucky we are to have met the Dharma, not only Dharma, Mahayana Dharma. And not only met the Dharma, have met incredible great teachers such as His own Dalai Lama, Sri Lama Sopa Rinpoche, and so many other great masters who really practice those teachings, who encompasses those teachings. And having the opportunity to study and practice ourselves. So fortunate. Not everyone has such conditions. Therefore, I must make most of it, make it beneficial, worthwhile. And the way to make our life more worthwhile, meaningful, is trying to actualize those teachings within our mind stream. And to be able to actualize those teachings within our mind stream, we need to study, practice, and to study, practice, we need to be reminded of the practice all the time, since we forget, or it's not easy. And for that reason, that we have come here together to listen and reflect, contemplate. And may us all coming together from different places, giving our precious time, energy to listen, reflect. May all this become cause and conditions to actualize and fully develop the Bodhicitta mind and to achieve fully enlightened state. so we can be most greatest help, benefit to all sentient beings. Okay. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigrated beings. Sangye Shodam Sogi Sonam Ma Changchu Bado Dane Kepu Dagi Shizai Be Sonam Gi Dola Penche Sangye Duba Sangye Shodam Sogi Sonam Ma Changchu Bado Dane Kepu Dagi Shizai Be Sonam Gi Dola Penche Sangye Duba Sho. May all sentient beings have happiness and causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from happiness that knows no suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of attachment and hatred for those held close and distant. So, again, welcome and thank you for joining. And today is our last sessions. And last two sessions, we discussed about the Four Immeasurables. And today we discuss a little bit about the awakening mind of the Bodhicitta. And as Shantidevas and many other masters explain, the Bodhicitta mind is the very essence of all the Bodhisattvas practice. Is the very heart of all the Bodhisattva practice. The whole lumbering is, either preliminary for this Bodhicitta mind, the practice of middle scope and small scope as a preliminary practice for the Bodhicitta mind, and the Bodhicitta, the actual main practice, and then in the practice of perfections as like the precept or the advice of that Bodhicitta mind. So the very heart of the whole lumbering is also the Bodhicitta mind. And whatever virtues we engage into, whether our virtues become cause of enlightenment, fully enlightenment or not, it depends on whether that virtues is kind of motivated by the Bodhicitta mind or not. If our virtue, our practice is not motivated by the Bodhicitta mind or the motivations, then it is very hard to become cause of fully enlightenment. And also without Bodhicitta mind, as Shantideva explained, not only we cannot achieve enlightenment, but also while even samsara will not be able to find really peace and joy and happiness, without the Bodhicitta mind. On the other hand, if we can develop Bodhicitta mind, then, one can find peace, happiness. Not only it can lead to the fully enlightenment, but also while we're in samsara, while we're on the path, you can find much more, one can find much more peace of mind and sense of meaning, satisfactions in your life, true sense of satisfaction, true sense of meaning in your life as well. And again, as His Holiness Dalai Lama often says, the main things that helped him, to go through all those challenges, difficulties that he have experienced on individual level, as well as a citizen, as a one whole countries, as a Tibet, and especially as a leader of them, and then also, to see the suffering and pain in the world all the time, despite him seeing and experiencing that, one of the things that give him still a lot of courage, a lot of confidence, and not being kind of, losing hope, not being overwhelmed by the pain and sufferings around you, what makes him that is because of that Bodhicitta mind. And that is his experience, and that is what he shares. That is what his experience, that is what he shared, And so same way, if we can practice, also we can be in similar experience situations, and as I often share, so many journalists over the years have, or not only journalists, but also others, different activities, who have seen so much suffering and pain in the world when they are trying to help different people in different painful situations. And they often feel overwhelmed by all the pain and suffering that they're dealing with. They often feel very overwhelmed by the pain and suffering that they see and they deal with. And sometimes they become very discouraged. Sometimes they become very hopeless, And so one of the very common questions asked to His Holiness Dalai Lama very often is how he deal with that, how he deal with all the pain and suffering that he see around, And his answer is that is the compassion, the Bodhicitta mind. Is his compassion, Bodhicitta mind. That is the key for him to not to lose the hope and not to be discouraged and not to be overwhelmed by the pain and sufferings. And so that was his own experience, and he shared his experience. So same, we all have the same potential if we can actualize the Bodhicitta mind. Also, we can be in that state. So that is the power of the Bodhicitta mind, the power of the Bodhicitta mind. As also Shantideva explained, the Bodhicitta mind is like alchemy that can transform ordinary metals into a gold. Similarly, when we have the Bodhicitta mind, or when you engage with the Bodhicitta motivations, then our even ordinary activities can be transformed into virtues, can be transformed into the cause of enlightenment. And that is by the power of the Bodhicitta motivations. So our ordinary activities, the act of eating, the act of cleaning, the house, cleaning the dishes, the act of taking care of your plant, these are normally kind of ordinary activities. But if we can do that with the Bodhicitta mind or Bodhicitta motivation, then all of these activities can become spiritual virtues, cause of enlightenment. And so, as Shantideva said, the Bodhicitta mind is like the alchemy that can transform ordinary actions into something virtuous, cause of enlightenment. Also, as Shantideva explained, like the Bodhicitta mind is like the clouds of rains, the clouds of rain that give rise to all different plants to grow. The cloud of rains give the opportunity for all the plant to grow. Same way, the Bodhicitta mind is that cloud of rain that support and help and give rise to all the plants of all the spiritual realizations, within our mind streams. And also, as I explained, Bodhicitta mind is like a medicine, medicine that can help to kind of numb your own pain and suffering in a way. Is like taking a painkiller when you have so much pain, and when you don't know, you don't know, you are unable to deal with that because the pain is so strong. Sometimes we cannot manage the pain because it's too overwhelming. It's because it's too painful. So you rely on certain medicines such as painkiller to reduce the pain so that you don't feel and then you don't be overwhelmed and pain. That's similar to Bodhicitta mind. When someone has cultivated Bodhicitta mind, then through the power of the Bodhicitta mind, because you are constantly contemplating and thinking of the pain and suffering of others, you don't feel your own pain so much. And you one doesn't feel your own pain so much, and so one doesn't be overwhelmed by the pain of one's own suffering and pain. At the moment, because of our selfish attitude, we become so self-possessed, and when we have any problem, suffering, we think so much of that, and then we feel much more strong of that pain and suffering. Even if it's a very small problem, even if it's a small pain, even if it's very small suffering, when we think, I shouldn't be having that, why it is happening to me, I don't deserve it. All of that, when you become when you constantly think of my pain, my problem, my suffering, even if it's small, it started to feel bigger and bigger. And after some time, it overwhelms you. Even if it's small, it feels like this is the biggest problem in the world. It feels like that this is the biggest problem you had faced in your life in that moment. On the other hand, when someone is, with that Bodhicitta mind, when they extend and when they see the pain and suffering of other sentient beings constantly, that they begin to understand and feel my pain, my problem, my suffering is nothing compared to all other pain and sufferings. You started to feel and recognize your suffering. Pain is such a small, nothing big compared to so many others and then you don't become overwhelmed by your own pain and suffering, and you don't experience so much pain by that. So that is why, as Shantideva explained, it's like a medicine that can reduce your own pain and sufferings, So anyway, so that is also, one of the reasons I think for a lot of great practitioners, masters, that they have so much energy to help and benefit others is because of the Bodhicitta mind, Bodhicitta mind. I always kind of, think how much His Holiness Dalai Lama does, even at this age, seeing so many people giving advices all the time, where does he get all these energies? And it's because of that incredible Bodhicitta mind. That Bodhicitta mind give him that kind of energies. And that was same with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, non-stop. He was non-stop, almost like 24 hours, non-stop, trying to help, benefit directly, indirectly. Either he's giving advice, someone giving some teachings, or whether he's writing a letter to some people's questions, problems, or whether he's doing some puja ceremony for someone who is not feeling well, someone who has some obstacle, someone who has passed away. So constantly 24 hours, there's so much that. And sometimes, you just wonder where they do get the energy. Physically, their physical is not much so different from us, but still, where did they get such a, and my understanding, my belief is because of their Bodhicitta mind. Because of their Bodhicitta mind, when we don't have that Bodhicitta mind, even giving a half hour for someone can be tiring, whereas for someone who totally really had that Bodhicitta mind, sincerely care and have that Bodhicitta mind, giving 24 hours, 7 days a week, a month, it doesn't make them so tiring because of their Bodhicitta mind. To be able to help and benefit, it gives them immense joy to be able to help someone. And when you enjoy so much, there's less tiring, you feel less tired, because you enjoy doing that so much, because it gives you, it's like the energy boost, it's like the energy boost, that joyfulness, that joy. And that joy is the joy of being able to help someone, the joy of being able to benefit someone, so that is the, that is incredible power of the Bodhicitta mind, incredible power of the Bodhicitta mind. And that is the highest level of altruistic intentions, there are many different levels of altruistic intentions, and you can say the Bodhicitta mind is highest level of the altruistic intentions, it is the So coming to the Bodhicitta, how to cultivate Bodhicitta mind, then, as most of you are aware, there are a few different technique or meditations, whether it is 7 point of cause and effect that was passed to the Buddha Shakyamuni, to Maitreya, to Asanga, and so forth, and then there is another method, technical meditation, that is equalizing, exchanging self with others. That is passed to Buddha Shakyamuni, to Manjushri, to Nagarjuna, and then Shantideva, and so on, and then you also sometimes see in Lama Tsongkhapa, try to combine those two techniques together, and when you combine those two techniques together, the practice become even more powerful, even more stronger. So you can use any of those techniques, any of meditations, whatever is more suitable for yourself, more effective, powerful, and then by following any of those techniques, if we meditate and practice correctly, by using any of those methods, one should be able to develop the Bodhicitta mind. It doesn't mean you have to do every techniques, but by following just one technique, one should be able to, if that one particular technique, you totally connect with that. And so today I'm going to kind of touch a little bit, since we don't have much time to discuss, so equalizing, exchanging self with others, that little bit, so in order to inspire ourselves to meditate and contemplate on this particular subjects of cultivating the Bodhicitta mind, then one of the things we try to contemplate, meditate on the benefit of exchanging self with others, and advantage or benefit of exchanging self with others, or cultivating Bodhicitta mind, and disadvantage or the faults of not exchanging self with others and not cultivating the Bodhicitta mind. That is the Bodhicitta mind is that exchange, the two attitudes, two attitudes. The exchanging attitude, is, at the moment we are self-centered, self-focused, self-importance as the ordinary beings, and instead of that attitude, then we will try to generate the Bodhicitta attitude, or the attitude of the Bodhisattvas, that is to have, instead of more self-focus or concern, to have more focus to others' well-beings, and more focus to well-being of others, instead of too much self-cherishing, cherishing others more, and instead of so much selfish, having true sense of meaning and concern for others. So those two, trying to, as a part of this meditation and practice, again, whatever meditation you use for or practice for any of the technique, first is the equanimity, which we already discussed a little bit before as the foundations. And then, in here is the first is equalizing self with others. That is the first kind of the meditation points. And in part of that equalizing self with others is meditating and contemplating, just as we want to be happy and do not wish to suffer, as Shantideva explained we want to be happy and we don't want suffering, as long as our mind is in good state. Of course, if our mind is not in good state, sometimes we might feel differently. But anyone who has a good state of mind, they want to be happy 24 hours. They do not want to suffer. They do not want even the slightest problem of suffering anytime. And so there is that is kind of innate feeling, that was not taught by anyone from the birth, even as a young child. Even they cannot speak, but still they want to be happy and they do not want suffering. That is why, when they're not happy, they scream, they cry, and when they're happy, they smile, and they express, even though they cannot say a word, but you can see through their expressions, that they are suffering and they don't want that suffering. And they are happy, and that is what they want. So that is not being taught by anyone, but innately from the very birth, that is how everyone feels. That is that innate. And we are all pursuing in that, towards that, how whole our life is pursuing to be happy and not to suffer. We, whatever different field that we studies and engage into, whatever spiritual path we engage into, whatever ordinary job, education, all is about, how to avoid suffering, how to reduce the sufferings, how to overcome the sufferings, and how to improve the happiness, how to achieve the happiness, how to achieve higher level of happiness, is all that, Of course, in terms of that, then when you for a certain higher individual, then it is happiness, not just their happiness, it's about avoiding suffering for all sentient beings. It's trying to reduce the suffering of all sentient beings, not just yourself. It's about, trying to release from the suffering of all sentient beings. In terms of happiness, not only to achieve happiness for yourself, but to achieve happiness for all sentient beings. So, but basically, it's all about, avoiding or reducing and eliminating suffering and achieving happiness, And so that innate feeling we have from the birth, from the birth, is not something we learn later, whether from our parents or from the society, but from the very birth we have that. And then we pursue that, and we always feel we have right to be happy and not to suffer. No matter how bad I am, I always feel I have right to be happy and not to suffer. How much mistake I make, no matter what mistake I make, no matter what, what I engage into, out of ignorance, out of wisdom, out of kindness, loving kindness, out of anger, still I always feel I have right to be happy, not to suffer. And we have right to be happy and not to suffer. It is not only we have that innate feeling, but everyone, we have right to be happy and not to suffer, and there is the potential to be happy and not to suffer. It's not just like, we wish to be happy and not to suffer, that we have right to be happy, but we do have the potential to not to suffer at all and to be happy all the time. We do have that potential as well. So that is on our level, on individual level, and that is how we feel, and that is how in our life, that is how we move forward or engage our life towards that. So in these meditations, the Shantideva describing here, equalizing self with others. First point is also then we try to think, your families, friends, strangers, and then so-called enemies, whether you call enemy or not, but basically people with whom you have conflict, people you dislike, for whatever reasons. The people you have disliked people whom you are unhappy, with people whom you have conflict. So we try to think all, and then try to see, not only me, each of those beings, not only me and my family and my friends, but even those strangers, they also have the same feeling like us, wanting to be happy and wanting not to be suffering. We all are same. Even those we dislike, or with even whom we have conflict, whether we call it enemy or not, but even they have, just like ourselves, they just want to be happy. They do not want suffering. And that innate from the very beginning, just like ourselves. From their birth, they have that innate feeling. So really trying to understand that is very important, keep giving enough time to really feel they also want to be happy, and they also do not want suffering, just like myself and my family, my friends. So equally, we all are equal in that way, equal in wanting to be happy and not to suffer. It's not just myself, my family who want to be happy and not to suffer. Not everyone. They also want to be happy and not to suffer. And just like it is not only I, my family, my friend, have right to be happy and not to suffer, but even those strangers, even those with whom we have conflict, even those whom we dislike, also they have right to be happy and not to suffer equally. Whether someone is acting out of ignorance or whether someone is acting out of wisdom, they both have equal right to be happy and not to suffer. Whether one is acting out of anger, whether one is acting out of compassion, also they both have right to be happy and not to suffer. So that is, trying to feel that. And so you have to spend time really trying to feel it, because, intellectually, understanding is not so difficult, but it is to really experientially understanding, to really feel that we are equal on that level, on that fundamental level, and just as we and our families, friends, has, the potential to be happy, not to suffer, they also have the true potential, same potential to be happy and not to suffer. And so that is the first practice of meditations here, the first point. And so that is very point. If you have these strong foundations of this practice, first point, then second point, third point become more easier and more sensitive and more strong. If you don't have that strong first point, the strong foundation of that, then even we move to the second point and third point, it's like building a house without a strong foundation. Then it becomes a little bit more shaky, and then same with the fourth point, fifth point, So therefore, one need to spend more time. And also, in Shantidevas, if you read in chapter 8 of his Guides to Bodhisattva Life, where he talked about this particular equalizing exchange and self, there's so many verses on the first point. Some of the other points, some of the second point, third point, there is verses, but not as many verses as in the first verses with the first point. And that again shows the the importance have that strong foundations of that. And as part of that, as he mentions, just as there are many parts of the bodies, there are so many different parts of the bodies, but you try to protect each of them because they are one part of the body, Hand is not feet, okay? Legs is not the arms, The heart is not the eyes, the nose is not the kidney and all. They all have different functions. They all are different. They all are different in a way, and they all have different function. But at the same time, they all are part of one body. They all are part of one body. Therefore, we try to protect every part of the body. In order to protect the body, we have to protect every part. And he says, same way, even though we might look different sentient beings, different human beings, even though we might look different, we might have different complex colors, we might have different genders, we might have different spiritual path, we might have different political views, we might have different view on so many different things, but we all are part of, just like one body, we all are part of one families of human beings, one part of families of sentient beings. And so therefore, just as we need to protect the whole body, therefore, we need to protect the whole families, the whole family of humanity, the whole family of the sentient beings. And so that is where Shantideva again, focus with that kind of example. And again, I think again, it's very powerful metaphor and very powerful way to contemplate and think. At the moment, I think one of the biggest problems for us is, we focus too much on the differences, and that is where all the problem comes, because those differences are very, you can say temporary, on very surface level, those are not the very fundamental level. Those differences we develop over the times, influenced by our environment, the societies, we didn't come up with all these ideas, concepts, or all these differences when we're born, When the two children, when they are born, when they are young, I don't think they have much differentiation of the genders. I don't think they have much differentiation, divide and kind of, separate or see difference because of the gender, because of different views, because of that, But then as we grow up, we are being very much influenced by our society, our environment. And then we started to think, in terms of, they are white, we are black, we are brown, we are men, we are girl, men, women, all other different groups, And then we create all divisions, separate all, And we are we are spiritual or religious, they are unspiritual, non-religious, within the spiritual, we are Buddhists, they are Christian, so on. Then when it comes to the Buddhists, we are Mahayana, they are Theravada and Hinayana. And when it comes to the Mahayana, we are Tibetan Mahayana, they are Chinese Mahayanas, And then when it comes to Tibetan Mahayana, we are Gelug, they are Khakyus, And then when you come to Gelug, we say, oh, we are the follower of lineage of Lama Yeshe, Lama Sopa, they are other lineage. And then again, even you come to, within the, follower of Lama Yeshe, Lama Sopa, and so on, again, we also, even within that, then again, we make those distinguishes separate. That is how, and that is something that we develop over the time. And a lot of time we pay too much focus on that, those differences, and that is what creates the kind of divisions. Instead of one, then it creates division because we focus too much on those secondary differences instead of focusing more fundamental oneness and equalness. And these things that we see, which we develop later, influenced by the surrounding environment and so forth, society. Also, those could change, those could change. And that could change those, the idea of different, those could change. At the moment, I am Democratic, you are Republican. Maybe in a few years, you become a Republican, they are Democrats. The party changes, people changes, affiliation parties, and there are a lot of people who become from very leftist to very rightist, from very rightist to very leftist. I've seen a lot of people, in terms of politics, in same as spiritual. They are very spiritual, and then they become against spiritual religions, and they become very, criticizing all religions. And then there are people who criticize religion at the very beginning, but later who become very devoted, And same thing, there are, even with the genders, there are people who have against certain genders, but then later change, they are protector of those genders or those group. And there are others, some who used to be protector of certain gender, that they become the kind of the opposite and try to challenge that. And so these are temporary, comes, goes, which changes all the time. On the other hand, that fundamental, the innate wish or desire or aspiration, wanting to be happy and not to suffer, doesn't change that. Unless mentally, something happens, but anyone who is in a good state of mind, that never changes. All others can change us, but that doesn't change us. And that is, that we come with from the very birth, but we don't give too much focus on that, and that is the way problem becomes. If everyone started to focus on that on that fundamental, the most important, and on that fundamental level, how we all are equal in one, in wishing to be happy, not to suffer, desire to be happy, not to suffer, aspiration to be happy, not to suffer, how we all are same and equal in that perspective. Then, maybe our feeling with others would change, our perception with others would change, Then the external differences, the secondary, artificial, temporary difference, it wouldn't affect us so much to deal with others, At the moment, we focus too much those difference, and then when you interact with others, and then that affect us, and then on the basis of that, then our interaction is not so healthy, good, But if the both sides interact on that basis, both of them being very aware and very rooted in that seeing and understanding that we both are equal, we all are equal, both sides are equal and same in that level, then I think the way we interact will be more healthy, more positive, and better. And I think that is one of the things that His Holiness Dalai Lama always says, and that is why he has much more better interaction relationship with any kind of people all over the world, with all different spiritual path leaders, poor, rich, all kind of different political views. He is comfortable and able to interact very positively, healthy way, even with the most righteous one, most leftist one, centrist ones, from most poor person to the most rich persons, from most intelligent, educated, for someone who is not most intelligent. He is able to enter because he, as His Holiness always says, he communicates, he look them as another human being, nothing more than that. He communicate, he interact. When he see them, he don't see him rich or poor. He doesn't see Republican or Democratic. He doesn't see rightists or leftists. He doesn't see, educated or uneducated. All he sees is another human being, just like myself. Just like myself. This person is another human being, just like myself. On the basis of that, he communicates. And therefore, when he communicates that, the other persons feel that, they can feel that in that, and so that helps to create better, better conditions or foundations to discuss, to interact on better level, and so that is you see, His Holiness Dalai Lama is always practicing equalizing self with others all the time, equalizing self with others all the time. You see all same, equal in that level. That is where he always, not only just meditating, but in every interactions, in every way that he's practicing that. And because of that practice, he's able to communicate better. He's able to interact better. He's able to have better relationship, and that comes through that, and that comes through that. And if we can do that, that will make a very huge difference, in our, the problem is we don't, a lot of time, we cannot see that oneness, equalness. Instead, we see just the differences. We just see the difference, and we just focus too much on the differences. And that becomes the source of problem, conflict, distant divisions, yeah, that is why, I think a lot of people, a lot of people who are politically on the left side, okay, were very surprised to hear, Dalai Lama saying, he was very close and good friend with George Bush. A lot of people were very surprised to hear that, because they feel like he is a leftist, and or especially at that time when the, the other political party hated him so much for some of the policies of his policy, even at that time, and because his own doesn't look from that perspective, what political view, but he sees as another human beings, and and that is same with not. I'm just giving that his example because a lot of people were kind of shocked. A lot of people were surprised that he was a good friend with him, because they felt like he was their part of their belief, their, anyway. So, but just to give examples, but that was same with everyone's, so that is because he see and he interact with that, seeing one equalness, and that. So that is the first point of the, and I think second point in that meditations is contemplating and meditating on disadvantages of others and disadvantage of selfish attitude, and as Nagarjuna says, as Shandeva said, and in the Lambrins all there, and as it says, the cherishing thought or the selfish attitude is the root of all the sufferings, all the problems. And by saying that, that is the root of our individual suffering, is the root of our collective sufferings, is the root of, our conflict on individual level, is the root of conflict in families, is the root of conflict in your neighborhoods, your states, the countries, is the root of conflict, from one individual to the whole world, is a clashes. Basically, is the conflict, is the clashes of, ego, self-centeredness, is always about I'm right, you are wrong, Sometimes even when we say I'm wrong, still inside you feel you are right. Sometimes we say I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Sometimes people say just to kind of make things a little bit kind of not boil over, and make it more kind of calm. But inside they don't 100% feel that way, a lot of time, and so, it's always of most time is conflict of that. The conflict come because of, we always feel, this self-center, the self-center, being the center of the world, wanting to be the center of the world, where you want everything to be, centered around this self, It's all about people have to be nice to me. It's all about people need to like me. It's all about people need to, not the other way around, When it comes to others, we say, I have choice, I have right to either like you or not like you. It's my right, it's my choice, it's my feeling whether I like you or not like you. Whether I'm nice to you or not nice to you. But when it comes to us, then, we want everyone to be nice. We want everyone to like you. We want everyone to be good to you. And when that is not happening, we say, how come you don't like me? How come you are not nice to me? How come you are not good to me? We get upset, offended. We get upset and offended. Hurt, all of that, But I don't feel like that when I'm not nice to someone or kind to someone, good to someone, I don't feel like, I'm doing anything bad. It's just, we go in the market, we go in the cities, and it's not always we are nice to everyone there. We are not always liking everyone we see there, But on the other hand, when someone is not nice, right, then we feel hurt, we feel, offended, all of that, because again, it's more of that self-centeredness, because of that self-centeredness, the self-important and self-centeredness, And that is when, due to our self-centeredness, self-important, when we feel hurt, offended, and then, then we respond or we react with that feeling of hurt, offended, and all of that. And when you respond or react with that kind of feeling, being hurt, being offended, all of that, then it doesn't come in a nice way. And then that creates conflict, that creates more problem, more conflict. Because the way it comes, the way you communicate, the way we communicate, the way we interact doesn't come in a positive and healthy way, because it comes from a different state of mind, Even we're trying to communicate the same thing, same message, it makes huge difference from what state of mind it's coming from, It makes huge difference. The message, there's no difference in the message. It's the same message. Maybe you want to make someone be aware of something, or trying to clarify something. But depending on what state of mind that comes from, it will affect so much how you interact, how you say it, the way you say it. And according to that, then there's a different result, how the other person feel, how the other person get it. And so that is, so I was talking about the shortcoming of the contemplating and meditating on the false shortcoming or disadvantage of the self-centeredness or the cherishing thought. So trying to meditate on that. At the moment, it's hard for us to really see this, all our conflict and problem coming from that selfish attitude or self-centeredness. It's really, we don't really, maybe we have studied, we have read, all this, Nagarjuna, Shantidevas, all the Lamrim, and they all explain that, And to some extent, intellectually, sometimes we feel, yes, it makes sense. But in our everyday life, when it comes, whenever we had conflict problem, it's hard to see, it's coming from my selfish attitude. It's nothing to do with my selfish attitude. It's you, your behavior, your actions, your attitudes. In that moment, do we really feel my selfish attitude or my self-centeredness involved here to create this conflict? Do we see that? And do we acknowledge that? And do we accept that? And do we try to work with that? you know, is a big question mark. Is a big question mark, you know. So if it's still big question mark, it is quite clear. It's quite clear, you know, we haven't understood experientially the shortcoming of the selfish attitude, self-centeredness, you know. And so therefore, in order to have better understanding, deeper understanding, profound understanding of that, then we need to meditate, you know, on deeper level, you know, just not intellectually understand, but trying to contemplate on much more deeper level and profound level, and to see how in all our conflict, how that self-centeredness is involved. All our conflicts, all our unhappy mind, you know, all our, you know, pain and sufferings, you know, how that selfish attitude is directly, indirectly involved, or is the root, or is the cause, you know. If we really understand that, then as many masters advise and says, you know, when someone, you know, is not nice to you, you know, when someone is not nice to you, you know, whether someone's abuse, criticize, insult, disrespect, you know, criticize, whatever, you know, when someone does that, you know, for a really good practitioner, you know, then they will be grateful for that, you know, because they see the whole purpose of their practice is to reduce and overcome and crush that ego mind, that self-centeredness, that self-importance. With that person acting that way, then it really is crushed. It really crushed, you know, your ego. It really crushed your self-centeredness. It really crushed your self-importance, you know. And therefore, they see this as the great teacher, great masters, helping you to crush your ego, your selfish attitude, self-centeredness. That is something you want to do. That is something that you have devoted your life to do that. You know, the reason we engage in our spiritual path, especially in the Mahayana path, both of the path, is to crush that and to develop the true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. We struggle by ourselves to crush that, you know, because we cannot crush, because we only inflate our ego, you know. Most time by ourselves, we only inflate our ego. We only increase our ego, self-importance, self-centered. It's hard for us to kind of crush it. Now someone is helping us to do that. And it's something that we wanted, because that is why we engage in the path and do those practice. And from that perspective, for a true practitioners, they feel very grateful. They feel very grateful. And they feel that that person's actions is the greatest teachers. But we don't feel that way. Then at least I don't feel that way when someone does that to me. You know, I feel hurt. You know, annoyed, upset, whatever, so that clearly shows, that my practice is not strong. That clearly shows my practice is not strong. That clearly shows I'm not being able to relate how that is related with my self-centered or selfish attitude, or that ego that, So instead of seeing, that all this manifestation of my own ego is all manifestation of my own self-centered, and self-important, at that moment you are unable to see it. You don't see it is a manifestation of that, and that person is trying to help you to crush that, and so that, but someone who is really in a deep, in a very profound deep practice, they will feel differently, and they will see differently, instead of seeing that person as being very annoying, very disturbing, all of that, the practitioner will see that person as a great opportunity to practice. They see it as a great teachers, and they don't feel hurt, they don't feel annoyed, they don't feel upset, Instead, they feel very grateful and gratitude towards that, and see them as true teachers. So again, so when someone is engaged in this second point of meditation, and when they are really through practice meditation, when they make a progress and big progress, and that is how they feel it, and that will be how they feel. So anyway, that is the second point. And the third point is meditating, contemplating on the advantage or the benefit or excellence of cherishing thought for others. Again, Nagarjuna Shantideva, on all Lamrim, it is all the excellence, all the happiness, all the goodness, result of cherishing thought for others, and again, if we see in the world, and that is the same thing, it is when we have that cherishing thought for others, sense of true compassion, love, sense of true concern, true caring, true empathy towards others, that kind of cherishing thought for others in that moment, it put your mind in kind of peace, at ease, on ease and peace, in yourself, and that help us to act when we have those kind of true love, compassion, sense of concern, empathy, not only we feel that way a lot of time, we'll try to reach others whenever possible, and whenever we're able, reach out to others, trying to be help, benefit directly, indirectly, thereby, to be able to be some support and help to others, to reduce their pain, suffering, to improve their well-being, happiness, So then it helps you, it helps others. It brings you happiness, it brings others happiness, And by having such thought, and by having acting such thoughts, from a spiritual point of view, we create so much positive karma and virtues merit in that moment. Just by that, we create so much merit, so much positive energies, forces, so much virtues. As a result of that, again, we experience more joy, happiness, prosperity, success, excellence in the futures. By having that kind of positive thoughts in that moment, and acting in such those positive thoughts, lead us closer and closer. It helps us to progress further and further on the Bodhisattva path, and lead us to have more high level of happiness, and then eventually to achieve leading closer to the ultimate happiness of fully enlightenment. So so that's the result of the cherishing thought for others. So again, and then in the fourth point of this meditation, the practice of tonglen, taking and giving, giving, to that come through loving kindness and improve the loving kindness, and taking coming from the compassion also to improve the compassions, then you do that practice, very powerful method and practice to improve your loving kindness and compassions. Is a powerful method, technique, the practice of tonglen, taking on others' suffering and cause of suffering, and giving your own happiness and all the virtues to others. So that is the and through such practice of true love and compassion, through the practice of tonglen, then actually equalizing the attitude of actualizing, then not actualizing, then exchanging the two attitude, then to be able to exchange the two attitude, then you will be able to exchange the attitude. Before, we have more self-centered and less centered towards others. And now once then that changes, now you become more centered towards others' well-beings, and that is exchanging the attitude. At the moment, we are too focused on ourselves and less focused to others. It's too much focus on our own well-being and less focus to well-being others. We are too centered towards oneself and less centered towards others. We cherish too much ourselves and less cherishing others. And through that practice, as our loving kindness, compassion grow and become more stronger and stronger on the basis of all other foundations, then that attitude slowly started to transform and change. From being too centered yourself, then you become equal centered to both, equal focus to both, equal cherishing to both. And then as you get more progress, not only equal, then slowly you will be able to focus even more to others than yourself. You will be able to cherish others even more than oneself. You will be able to be more concerned to others even more than oneself. And so when we are able to do that, when we reach that point, then that is when we are able to be in exchange the attitude. And when we have reached that, able to exchange such attitude, then the bodhicitta is easy to develop. Bodhicitta is not far away, on the basis of that. Then the bodhicitta is not far away, not too difficult. So that is equalizing, exchanging self with others. In terms of theory, in terms of practice, still a long way to go, even for myself. So any questions? I can take a couple of questions if you have any questions.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think what I understood also is we should have less fear also in order, but we should work also on the emptiness and the renunciation. If I really understand that also words are not, they cannot hurt me, the word actually, because no inherent existence. So everything should be worked together. Because I realize that many times when I react badly is about fear also, or about my expectation about on the situation. It's not like I wanted, and suddenly it's like my body is like, you know, like an ice, and I am alone at that time and not anymore with others, and it's just the reaction is from the past of something, a habit, just to react that way. But it's how I'm now.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, today we discussed about mostly Four Immeasurable and the Bodhicitta, relative Bodhicitta. But of course, if we can combine all the practice together, three principal experiential path, which is the renunciation and the emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, and Bodhicitta, of course, each of those practices can support each other's, you know. If you have strong Bodhicitta, it can support to develop the wisdom realizing emptiness, also stronger renunciations. If you have a strong renunciation, it can help you to develop compassion and Bodhicitta, and also to have a wisdom realizing emptiness. If you have a wisdom realizing emptiness, it can also support to have more stronger renunciation, more stronger Bodhicitta mind, so they can all support each other. And definitely the way to go forward in the path is, of course, we need to develop all these three principal aspects of the path. Yeah, definitely. And they all support each practice and our spiritual path. Yeah. So then, if not, then we can do the dedications. Gyawadi nyodo da lama sangye tu gyone doa chi gyama lupa de sala kwe ba shong chanjo sem cho rinpo che ma ke pa na ke kyo che Kewa nyamba meba yang konde kondo pewa shu. Hari rawe kore shingang de pendang dewa malu chungwe ne. Jere senwa tenzin gyatso yi. Shape si de padu ten gyuro chi. And also we can dedicate the virtues for the supervision with his Lama Geshe Rinpoche, and to be able to continue to receive his guidance and teachings until we achieve enlightenment. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you for coming to Laksam 3 times, and how much we are looking forward to your visit next year. I'm speechless, and thank you very much for your guidance in these difficult times. Also, thank you for joining in. Those of you coming tonight and being here for the past Thursdays, thank you. And also the ordained people coming in tonight, thank you. And stay strong. Remember to think about Bodhicitta and help out where it's possible. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon again. Bye-bye.